Hello, one and all present here. This is Amit Kumar Singh. Welcome everyone to my class. In this class, we're going to discuss something which is very important when it comes to Tableau. I hope you know these terms like what is dimension, you know what do you mean by dimension, you know what do you mean by measures, right? Don't tell me you don't know the meanings because so far in my classes, I've discussed a lot about dimensions and measures. We have spoken about different kinds of data types. When it comes to data type, probably I can say data types can be either it can be either numbers, data types can be either numbers, or it can be either date and time. Your data type can be date and time. It can be either date. Okay, your data type can be either string. Okay, it can be boolean or it can be geographical. So there are different data types are there. When it comes to when it comes to different columns, whenever we work on Tableau, we have different columns. When we work on these different columns, we have different kinds of data types. So so the those kinds of data types which represent numerical values like numbers, you have either decimal, or if you have either whole number, so these decimals or whole number is called as measures. Okay, so all numerical data types, okay, they are called as numbers. Okay, while except these numerical data types, whatever the forms of data types which left, no, which are non-numericals, we'll call them as a dimension. So you know what do you mean by measures, you know what do you mean by dimension. Okay, so probably if I come back to my original workbook here, if I'm coming back to my original workbook, so probably you can see, so these columns are there. So all these columns, what you can see, more or less these columns contain values which are dimension, except the last four columns. You can see the last four columns here are sales, quantity, discount, and profit. These four columns represent measures, while the previous columns represent dimensions. Okay, the last four columns here, you have sales, quantity, discount, profit. These four columns here represent measures. Okay, so like how to understand they represent measure, because they're numerical entities. If you just select them, if I select all the profit entries, I can see the average profit here. Can you see it? Here you can see average profit, you can see the count of the profit, you can see the minima value, maxima value, sum value. The same goes with anything else. If you take sales, again you will get the same thing, the average, their count, their minima, maxima, their sum value. Same thing if you take quantity, you can get the same thing. So because these are what, these are measures. When we talk about measures, measures have numerical values. Okay, measures represent numerical entries, while all the non-numerical booleans or date time or geographical or time or date, those comes under what? Those comes under dimensions. So you understand about dimensions, you understand about measures. Now, what do you mean by measure names? What do you mean by measure values? When I use the word measure, when I'm using the word measure, here the two terms comes into picture. One is called measure name, one term is called measure name, and the second term comes with the measure value. Okay, so what do you mean by measure name? Measure names include these things, like it includes your sales. You see, no, this sales, or you see this quantity. Okay, you see discount, you see profit. Okay, so all these terms is called as, all these terms we'll call as a measure. These terms we'll call them as a measure names. And when we did mathematical operation on them, okay, at the down I got the sum or count or average or maxima, minima. So that is called as measure value. So your measure value is nothing but it's an aggregation. Whenever you have a numerical entry, then the aggregation of those numerical entries, which talks about sum or count or average or maxima or minima, all that comes under measure values. So I hope you understood the meaning of the terms like a measure name, measure values. So when I was discussing the same in my previous class where I was talking about dimension, measures, data type, that time I told you like in Excel as such, we cannot define dimension or measures, but Tableau do the work smartly. Like when you can see Tableau, okay, the Tableau can easily distinguish a data based upon data type. Those data types depends upon the column name. It depends upon the content inside the column. So all that helps the Tableau to understand what kinds of data types this particular entry belongs. You can see that these are data types. You can see this hash key. This hash key mainly represent number. Whenever you have this, whenever you have number, you can understand a number from the data type called hash. Okay, similarly if you see for strings, for alphabets, it is represented with ABC. So when you see this ABC, it represent a data type called string. Okay, similarly when I see here like date and all, it represent like this. Date and all, it represent like this is the symbol for date. Data type date, you can see with this. So you can easily understand among them when you see these data types. Now, when you have geographical data type, it can be represented like this. When you have geographical data type, so it can be represented like this. So these are different forms of data types when we work in Tableau. So it why we need to classify the columns under different types of data types. Already I've discussed with you. I told you how your graph get changed because Tableau works on business intelligence. So the graph, whatever you draw between different columns and row, whatever the data type you feed into that, your graph will automatically change. So suppose if I take in column, if I put date, and in row, if I put number, okay, number means if I put any measure in the row, then I'll get by default column diagram. Okay, if I put date and measure, I'll got get by default line diagram. If I put string, if I put string, if I put in column, if I put string in column, if I put any string means any dimension which is a string, and in row, if I put any dimension which is a number, okay, by default I'll get a column diagram. Okay, while if in the column, if I put while in the column, if I put date, and in row, if I put a number data type, measure means number means measure. Here, if I put a measure, so I'll get what? I'll get a line diagram. Already I have discussed among them. Okay, so if I put two measures in column also, if I put a measure, in row also if I put a measure, if column also if I put a measure, in row also if I put a measure, I'll get a scatter diagram. Okay, so measures like if I put profit here and if I put sales here, so I'll get a scatter diagram. So when we work in Tableau, understanding the different types of data types become very important. And already I have given you an example where I shown you how you can change the data type also. So when we look into Tableau, when we are working in a Tableau, so if I come to the sheet one, you can see Tableau is very smart. It gives all by default, it will give you a certain format, like you can see measure names like discount, profit, quantity, sales. You can see them under this measure name. You can see latitude, longitude. Okay, you can see them. Measure values, you can see them. So by default, it will show you these things. Now, if I put measure names under column, if I put measure names are what? Your sales, your discount, your quantity, profit. If I put measure names under column, okay, can you see a down measure values? Automatically this table formed. And if you put measure values under rows, okay, so here if I put measure names under column, if I put measure names under column and measure values under row, and let me just select the measure value under levels. So guys, you will get the same thing. The count, the discount, profit, quantity, sales, whatever the figure you got here, right? In Excel, whatever figure you got as a sum of these figure, the same thing you will get here. So you don't have to do manual work. Imagine if I want to do the sum, alt equal to control C, control V. Whatever figure you get, the same thing you can get very easily here. So you don't have to put effort to get this. Clear, everyone? So if you have noticed here, you know the measure names, you know measure names, measure values become significant when you are working in Tableau where you have lot of numerical entries. Maybe more than 20, 30 numerical entries are there and you want to do the individual sums and all. So you don't have to do this work here. So Tableau by default will do that work for you very easily. Okay. Like see, if I put now if you see like earlier I've done like this, I put the subcategory under row. Okay, so I can see all my subcategories. Okay, and then if I want to see each subcategory, the sales, profit, everything, so I put my sales under text. I can see the sales value. Now profit, if I want to see, just put profit next to that, you can see sales and profit already we have done, right? So when we are discussing text tables, already we have discussed among them, right? So now if I drag to quantity here, so you can see all three of them here. Now guys, you can notice one thing. You can notice in column you can see something called measure name. In row you have subcategory. In filter you can see measure names are coming. Why measure name is coming in filter? Because if you click there, and here if you see the edit filter, you can see all the names of measures, like you have sales, quantity, profit, discount, count of order. Out of these measures, till now I have just shown only three measures. If you want to represent few more measures, or you want to represent all the measures, you just press plus E, tick sign, all the measures become visible. Or you want looking for some specific measure also, you can do that. You can go to edit filter. What is filter and all, don't tell me you don't know. So you just click there, untick this, tick this, and your work will be done very easy. The same thing you will get here. To drag it here, same thing you get it, right? You can click here and you can go to measure, and then you can change this, right? All mathematical these things already we have discussed in the previous classes. So that way it become much more significant for us whenever we are making comparison. Okay, like suppose instead of subcategory wise, if I want to do analysis region wise, suppose I have four regions. Okay, I can see these four regions, and I want to do my analysis here region wise. Okay, so I want to see this value region wise. So what you need to do, guys, you don't have to do manually put all the value, sales, profit, all the measures, whatever you have. You don't have to put all these measures one by one. Don't put all these measures one by one. Okay, what you can do instead of putting these measures one by one, you simply drag the measure value. You simply drag the measure value. If you drag the measure value, you see all together they frame like this. So they all superimposed over one another. Now if I put the measure name in columns, if I put the measure name under column, okay, and if I put the this region under row and measured value under text, now you can see all of them came together. Like if I remove region, if I put subcategory, everything came together. So I don't have to go get into filter and individually select the values in the filter or individually drag this and put it here. All that work I don't have to do. So all together, I can see all of them at the same time. So this is about measure names and measure values. So I hope you understood what we have done in this class. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you all in next class. Bye, everyone.